Hello, everyone. Welcome, Silent Brief Podcast, one episode 234. Lots to talk about today, mainly in the NBA. We got a couple of playoff series have ended since we've last talked, guys. So we might, talk over those. Plus, we have the beginning of our season recaps. The 4 play-in losers. We'll talk about their seasons, give you letter grades, and talk about what their futures might entail. Those teams include, the Heat, Hornets, Warriors, and Clippers. The first 4 teams to not make it into the playoffs. So we'll go over those just in a little bit. So with all that being said, guys, stay tuned. Let's kick it off with the NBA. We had a couple of series in since we last spoke, guys. Of course, we already know the Thunder were probably going to sweep the Suns. That happened. And then the Spurs, they took care of business against the Trail Blazers the other night here. Unfortunately, the Lakers couldn't get business done last night, so the Rockets forced a game 6. Same with the Celtics, so they couldn't get the job done. They're now playing the Sixers, I believe, in game 6. So a couple of series could end, but let's talk about the series that did end. Jacob, I'll start with you. Let's start with the Thunder Suns. I think all 3 of us didn't believe the Suns had a chance, and hey, they didn't have a chance. I think it was belt to ass pretty much every game. How do we look at this series? The Suns don't have a chance. How do they? Is there any positives coming out of this series for the Suns?
For the Suns, no, I don't think so. I look at it kind of the opposite of the East, where everybody knew that the Thunder were the better team, and they didn't play with their food. They just took care of business. They went in, really like you said, they beat the crap out of them all 4 games. I know 2 of those games were close-ish final scores, but Thunder were the better team. They didn't play with their food, and they're nursing injuries while at the same time, just trying to set themselves up for the eventual Western Conference Finals against San Antonio, everybody believes.
I agreed. Lawrence, any positives coming out this series from the Suns' perspective, or just good vibes with Thunder?
I guess the positives you can look at are, what's his name? Jalen Green didn't do horribly. I think Dylan Brooks added a spark in the regular season and in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I think all it showed you that without Booker is not a number 1 probably anymore. And if we look at his track record in the playoffs, it doesn't really pan out that he's done a whole lot either. Outside of the 1 finals appearance against the Bucks. But
yep.
I mean, he has lost multiple times in the first round. Been bounced multiple times in the second round. Had many series where the games weren't that competitive. Yeah. I mean, I think it might be time for Phoenix to be able to move on, but they have so much problems in their own way. Is it even worth trying to move off of him? Because he probably doesn't want to go anywhere because he likes golfing and all that stuff, and there's plenty of that in the Phoenix area.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it would have to be Booker asking out for anything to happen. I think Matt Ishbia is pretty sold on Booker. They would have to get an extraordinary offer and move off of him. Apparently, it came out today that they're looking to give Brooks a long-term deal. So I think they'll run that core together. Maybe they try to move Jalen Green. It's obvious that Booker and another shooting guard doesn't work together. We already had this, with Bradley Beal doesn't work. So, I think they got to go out there and get a true point guard. Someone who can operate the offense. And like you said, Lawrence, I don't think Booker at this point is a number 1 option type of guy. Definitely can get you buckets, but can he lead your team in the playoffs? He didn't do that. In that finals run, that was all CP3, kind of orchestrating that in the court. And of course, Monty Williams being a great head coach of that group, even though him and Ayton they had beef the whole series. So, yeah. I agree with you guys. No negatives coming out of that series with the Suns. But Thunder, looking towards the winner of the Lakers Rockets. Also, J-Dub is still nursing that hamstring, so we'll see. The other series that ended, Spurs, Trailblazers. Trailblazers put up a fight, not in the last game, but I think every other game in this series, the Trailblazers put up a good fight. But they just don't have enough firepower. Any positives coming out this series? I'll start with you first this time, Lawrence.
I mean, the positives that you could hang with them. There was the one game they were up by 20 at halftime. In reality, you guys probably should have won that one, or you probably shouldn't have lost it in the way you did. Like as bad, should have been a lot closer. But they did get one win. I don't think the Trailblazers were really coming in here looking for moral victories rather than anything else. And I don't know if Drew Holiday ends up somehow staying some couple more years with the Trailblazers. At least they know they got like a savvy vet on the defensive end that's gonna help maintain other teams' best players or help them get concussions. But yeah, I think it also opens up possible new chapters for some players as well. Like Drew Holiday also just proved that he still got it. He can still defensively be a menace through a series. We haven't really asked him to be a threat scoring wise, many years, but still got the defensive prowess.
I agree. Jacob, any thoughts on the Spurs and Trailblazers series?
Yeah, kind of like you said. I mean, pretty much house money for the for Trailblazers to be there. I kind of reminded me of the Panthers playoff game. No disrespect to your Panthers, Lawrence, but like it was a close-ish game. The better team probably won, and it was like the game, like being in the playoffs was the win. Similar here with Portland is the fact that they were in the playoffs, the fact they were able to not get swept. This is all house money, so they need more talent, but also it's a good step, for their young core, and obviously getting Dame back next year, we'll see what he's like, post injury. But I think the Spurs, similarly to the Thunder, they took care of business, but also they were tested, I think, a lot more than the Thunder were tested, and that could potentially be a beneficial thing to the Spurs. But I mean, Wemby's breaking out. I mean, he's probably the biggest star in the game, just the biggest TV media grab, just because he's an alien. So yeah, like I mentioned before, I can't wait to see the Thunder and Spurs here in a couple more rounds.
Yeah, should be a very exciting matchup if those two indeed meet up in the conference finals. I think the only positive is, hey, if the Trailblazers, if they can somehow keep Drew, I don't know his contract details off the top of my head, but if they can keep him around, Dame's coming back. We don't know what Dame we're getting. We don't know if he's going to be back to his old self or if it's going to take some time for him to get back to top peak condition. But that'll be a dangerous duo in the backcourt at the very least. And then you got Scoot on the up and up. And then, of course, your all-star, maybe all-NBA player in Denny, being there as well. I think they got a nice young core with a couple of savvy vets. Who knows what can happen next year? Maybe they just add a piece or two, rearrange the roster a little bit because they got too many bigs on the roster. I'll just say that with Time Lord and Clinnigan and the other guy they drafted. That didn't they draft that kid from China?
Yeah.
A little too many bigs on the team. Maybe reshuffle those guys around and get some guys that probably better fit the team. But yeah, Trailblazers got a decent future on the horizon. Next up, though, the play-in losers will recap their seasons coming up here. Let's start in the West. The first team they got knocked out was the Clippers. Clippers had a rough start to the season, guys. They were like at one point 13 and they were like 13 and 23 or something. They were like 10 games below 500. The Thunder were just rubbing their hands together, thinking they're gonna have 3 picks in the lottery. Then I think around trade deadline they got things together, got back to 500. Ended this season 42 and 40, sneaking their way into the play-in. Kawhi, career year, surprisingly at age 34, played a lot of games. Even though he was under investigation, him and the Clippers all season for some alleged payments under the table. We still haven't heard the results of that, but all in all, the Clippers had a roller coaster of a season. Jacob, what would you grade the Clippers season? and where do they head from there? With the potential, Kawhi suspension, maybe contract void. We don't know how that situation is going to, end up. But how would you, in a vacuum, grade this season?
It's a tricky one because, like you said, it was an absolute roller coaster for them. I'll probably say C minus, and it's only not lower because of the turnaround, able to get back in the playoffs, kind of ensure that pick to the Thunder isn't, a top 5 pick. But I just think with all the uncertainty going on, I also think of where their expectations were. Obviously, Harden asked out. They're going to have to go under some sort of rebuild, retooling. I'm under the camp now, though. I know it's kind of been rumored out there, but I kind of think trading Kawhi makes sense right now because he just played one of his healthiest and, one of the best seasons of his career, but he was healthy, and that's never been a consistent Kawhi thing. And I think that if you're going to plan to trade him because the core's not good enough, which it's clearly not,
Yep.
I think now's the time you get the most value for Kawhi Leonard. And I think that there's some teams, specifically in the East, that would really think that they're a Kawhi Leonard away from, being more competitive, i.e. the Miami Heat. So pretty bad for the Clippers, but I will say the C minus can get upgraded to a B minus if the Pacers pick falls outside of the top 4. Clippers would get that for Zubac. So the Clippers just magically obtained the 5th overall pick via the lottery based on the Zubac trade. Then it's just like, okay, it was a rough season, but like we could trade Kawhi, get a top 5 pick just that we got for Zubac, and then kind of go around what the return is. And the top 5 of this this year's draft is so stacked that I think the Clippers' outlook could change, but that's up to the lottery balls.
Yeah. Hey, I didn't even think of that. Their situation with the Zubac trade. So yeah, they do have. I guess one thing to look forward to. The lottery balls will be pulled here sometime next month. Lawrence, what are your thoughts on the Clippers season with all the ups and downs and the potential suspension / void of Kawhi's contract and that whole situation?
Well, Kawhi will be fine. But I think it's in the best interest of the Clippers because, I mean, ever since he learned the magic trick with the Spurs, where he doesn't actually have to play, he can just make money and not have to play. So, I don't know. I think it's probably better you let him walk. I think a new ground, a new home, automatically makes him have to play good for a year, like another year, because he can't go on another team and just immediately be cheeks. Like, it won't look good for him. Plus, they had Mathurin that they just brought in. So, it's like a serviceable replacement. It's not giving you the true effectiveness, but you're not going to get beat up and blown out game to game. So, you can kind of build on a core. You are talking about putting yourself back, 2 or 3 more years. 2, 3. Because you still got to figure out what you're going to do with that Bradley Beal money, There's a lot of problems in your team.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Clippers are closer to the bottom than they are the top. I think this season proves that. Ty Lue, did a hell of a job getting the team back on the right track and, getting them above 500 to close the year. But the team has a lot of problems. And I don't think Kawhi, has any interest being on a reshuffle, whatever you want to call it, type of a team. I mean, they have the talent, but they don't have enough to really compete. When we look at the roster here, I mean, with Garland, Mathurin, Big Zoo is gone, so you just don't really have the troops to go out there and really compete in the West. So I think it's best interest, like Jacob said, go out East. I know Miami's a team that's been thrown around. Maybe the Knicks, they maybe if they can upgrade from Mikal Bridges, get a 2-way guy who can also score. I like that a little bit more. I'm not sure if the Clippers would do that or how that trade would work out, but maybe if the Knicks can't land Giannis this summer, if Giannis ever asks out and stops being a baby about it, that might be a good destination. I think Miami is probably a plan B, and we'll talk about them a little bit later, but it might be a good plan B for Kawhi and the Heat. So I don't know. I'd rather see Ben Mathurin in a starting role. I predicted at the beginning of the season he would be a 20-point per game scorer, but he really didn't blossom this year. But I think, if anyone can get that out of him, is Ty Lue if he decides to stick around and help the Clippers through this retool. But I give them a C. Just because, hey, they climbed out of that hole, but they didn't even make the playoffs. So I can't give you anything higher than a C. That's the Clippers. Moving on, though, we got the next team in the West, the Warriors, who also had an up and down year, dealing with a lot of injuries. Now, after this season, there's a lot of questions. Most notably, Steve Kerr, is he coming back? We still don't have any confirmation about that. He reportedly is going to meet with ownership again next week to kind of hash that out. So I don't know. The Warriors, it's a turning point for them after trading for Jimmy last year. Jimmy tears his ACL halfway through the season. So they, the roster that they thought they would have and will be able to compete, it's not really the situation. So I don't know, guys. Start with you first, Lawrence. How would you grade the Warriors season, and what is their outlook? Like, how does it look with Kerr, without Kerr? Like, what are we looking at?
Their few seasons going to the future is just strictly, I don't know, the red carpet to the end of the era. I mean, because they had dominance for so long, and when you have dominance for so long, there's the fall off period, and like this team is literally just a bunch of old guys, and then some just above average, better than two-way players that are young. Mm-hmm. And there really is no middle ground between that. Going forward, I mean, Porzingis has never been anything amazing, year to year. I mean, we always talk about what Porzingis can do. It's never about what he does do sometimes. Draymond is probably gone, is he not?
Good chance, yeah. Maybe he gets traded.
I mean, there's probably just a long 2 or 3 years of just waiting for Curry to hang up the cleats or shoes at that point. But they'll probably never have enough talent going around them in order to make pushes.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there, Lawrence. I totally agree with you on that. Jacob, do you have the same thoughts as Lawrence? What would you grade the Warriors season here?
Yeah, I completely agree. He actually said that really, really well. Yeah, I'll say C. And, it's kind of sad. But again, like he said, they were so dominant for so long that, it is unfortunate that Curry's going to end his career, not on the championship teams that he was on for so long. Mm-hmm. But, I don't think you can trade a guy like that. He's a one-team kind of guy. And they'll probably retool and reshuffle the cards and get a similar result. I mean, unfortunately, they are kind of a staple for the play-in teams these last couple of years. But, yeah, I'll give it a C, and not a lot of promise in the immediate future, I think.
Yeah, it's not looking good. I think we're heading toward a divorce from the Warriors and Steve Kerr. Mainly because Steve Kerr just doesn't play young guys and develops them well. I feel like he's always been like a veteran type of guy, and these older teams, man, they just can't compete. They just can't compete, especially when these older guys are getting hurt. Draymond's getting hurt. Steph's always getting hurt. Porzingis, he's always sick, so he can't play. Like, you got Big Al, he's 40. I mean, you need a good mix of young guys in there, which they do have. They got what's his name? He's not even on the roster anymore. They don't even have it listed, but they have what's the guy they extended? Got rid of Kuminga. Who's the other guy they drafted?
Moody.
Yeah, Moody. Gary Payton's still young. Podemski may or may not extend him. Pat Spencer's okay. So yeah, I mean, they got some young guys mixed in there, but have they really developed under Kerr? You can't really say that. They've been average at best, right? So I think it's best that they head to a divorce, and then from there, I guess it's up to Curry. Do you want to be part of a retool? Do you want to be like Dame Lillard is right now, where you're kind of in the play-in AC spot and kind of just hanging around because you want to be a one-team guy, even though Dame got traded once but came back. But do you want to do that, or do you want to go out there and compete still? I mean, they have 4 first-round picks. Do they think they can get Giannis? I don't know. Outside of those 4 picks, the Warriors don't really have anything else to offer. I think that the Bucks will want some players, and the Warriors don't really have players, to be honest with you. So, can you go get Giannis? Do you go, take a swing on Kawhi? Do you go take a swing on who else is disgruntled and probably wants out?
LeBron James.
Do you go get LeBron at 41? Do you have, 3 40-year-olds on your team? I don't know. If Donovan Mitchell, if they somehow lose in the second round again, do you go try and swing for Donovan Mitchell if he doesn't sign his extension? Like, it's a lot of ifs. It's a lot of ifs for the Warriors. I don't know. We'll see what they do, but I'll have to give them C+. I think they got a lot to figure out here, and being stuck in the play-in doesn't help their cause out at all. So we'll see what they do. But next up, moving to the East, we have my Heatles. Unfortunately, they made the play-in, but lost in the first game to the Hornets. Bam got injured in that game, but still very up and down season as well. Started out 14-7. Hero was out for the first 2 months of the season. He comes back, immediately gets hurt after a couple games. Norm pretty much carries the team to the All-Star break. Then he starts to get hobbled and doesn't, starts to miss games, and just guys coming in and out the lineup just really hurt this team. Along with roster construction, they don't really have possessional size. They don't really have shooting. It's decent, middle of the league, middle of the pack, but not good shooting. There's a lot of fundamental problems with the roster, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. But they did improve wins-wise over last year. I think last year they're at 36, and they got 43. The record was 43-39 this year. So a little bit of an improvement in the win column, but not in terms of playoff success. So I'll start with you, Jacob. How would you grade the Heat season, and what is their future looking like to you?
Most of these teams are kind of in that spot where, it's not good based on what the expectation was, minus the next one we're going to get to. The Heat they don't strike me as a team that can be reliant on play-ins every year. Therefore, I think they're going to be one of those teams that makes a big aggressive splash, whether that's, the aforementioned Kawhi Leonard or potentially Kawhi or Giannis. Like, there's definitely going to be some big fish out there, at least rumored. So I personally believe that that's what the Heat have to do. Like you kind of just mentioned, like shake up the core, shake up the roster, and try to swing for a big fish and see if you can get some better days down there. But also shout out to Bam, because they did make some serious history. The 83-point game was something that we potentially may never see again. So albeit in a frustrating season, they still have that one game that no one will ever forget.
Yeah, that is 100% right there. Lawrence, your thoughts on the Heat season? What would you grade their season, and what's their outlook in your eyes?
Their outlook's fine. I don't think there's anything I would worry too much about. Like, the Heat are probably going to be back in the same position, probably just a little bit further up on their table, in the playoff / play-in. I feel like there's small pieces that can be used. I wouldn't even call them small. I feel like there's some pieces that can be moved and used that could really bring in some talent, as if they need more. But Andrew Wiggins' contract is going to end by the end of 2026-27. So Wiggins and Hero both expire soon. Well, okay, next year. So those two can easily be moved. One thing you did learn is Wiggins is $30 million a year, but that Davion Mitchell, he had some nice play-in games. He had some nice playoff pressure. And he only costs 12, 14, or 12.4. So Max should be banging 15 million on him, because he's probably not gonna get more than 15. And that'll suffice you. Jaime Jaquez, you might have to move off, or you're gonna have to re-sign. What's his re-sign contract? He's currently gonna get $6 million next year. What are you gonna give him after that? Is it go up to 10? There's some small things, but Norman Powell, you're not going to have to worry about that contract. So that was $20 million off the books. You want to bring him back, it's probably going to cost the same. So if you got rid of Wiggins and Hero in the same contract to bring in a big piece, Norman Powell is a structural point that can easily come back and knows the system. He's getting up there in age. He's 33 next year, but he'll be all right.
Yeah, good points, Lawrence. There's definitely some movable contracts, some guys you can let go, some extensions you should consider. I don't know if they will. Pat Riley had a press conference a couple days ago. I think it was Monday, and their plan is to stay cap flexible throughout this offseason, next offseason into 2027. I think they want at least one max in max player space available just in case. And then we know, players don't make it to free agency, guys. Like, that's not really a thing anymore. But I think their whole thing is the threat of free agency. So just in case, if Giannis does, not sign his extension, the threat of him leaving for nothing and go signing for one of these teams that potentially might have space will give Milwaukee more motivation to move him, because it's like, okay, you could, Giannis is not going to sign an extension. Great. That means he's gone. So you have to get something for him. Or these teams that he's also interested in, he can just go there and sign the next following summer. So I think that's their game plan. And there's a couple of guys in 2027 that could or could not be available. Most likely they won't. They'll sign their extensions this summer. I think it's like guys like Trae Young, AD, Donovan Mitchell, Giannis, Jokic, I think, has an option that year. So there's a couple of guys, Kyrie as well. So there's a couple of guys that most likely will get extensions, but also the threat of them declining their extensions will have their respective teams, potentially looking to trade them. And I think the biggest fish right there that we all mentioned is Giannis. So I think I'm giving the Heat like a 50-50 shot. I think the Bucks really like their offer at the trade deadline. But this offseason, more teams can get involved. I feel like the Rockets probably will if they lose. The Knicks, the Knicks will be in it. Maybe Orlando, if they can somehow recoup some picks. Like teams like that, if Detroit loses, they might get in the mix. They need a second option for Cade. So it's definitely a lot of teams that get in the mix. So we'll see if Miami can pull it out. Do they pivot to Kawhi? Not a bad idea, but not my favorite, just because of availability. We already talked about that. So yeah, who knows, man? I know one thing though, they can't bring back Powell and Hero. Those two do not work well together. They're ass together. I think they lost like almost every game they played together or started together. So if one thing they do is let's ship one of those guys off, and it seems like at least Hero's probably not coming back. So I don't think they're going to give him an extension. So we'll see if where he goes. I think the Pistons and Rockets are interested from reports so far. So we'll see if he gets moved for some assets. But the last team on the list, don't want to ramble too much on my Heatles, but the next team we will probably ramble about, because I think, at least for me and Lawrence, this team was our sleeper team this year. The Charlotte Hornets, a team that basically all it took was Con Knipple getting drafted there, and them signing a new coach to really turn the culture around. Con Knipple, second place in Rookie of the Year voting, but damn sure was in first place for a good chunk of the season. Great player. LaMelo finally played well, I feel like, for a whole season without, getting injured. And then they get contributions from Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, and then kind of like a rotating cash at center. But they make the play-in, and they beat the Heat, but kind of get belt to ass by the Magic. But hey, at one point we thought they could slip into that 8th seed. So all in all, I would say pretty good season for the Hornets. Jacob, I'll start with you first. How would you rate the Hornets season, and where do they go from here? If they were a play-in team, how do they get to that next step, being maybe one of those top 6 seeds in the East?
Tricky. A+ for their season. I mean, from irrelevance to one of the most entertaining basketball teams to watch this year. So shout out to them. I'm sure their fans, all like 15 of them, deserve it. The team has never ever really been good. So awesome to see all those young guys that they took all like in the top 3, because again they've been bad for so long. Finally kind of gelling together. It's going to be tricky though to kind of take that next step, unless they do something egregious like the Orlando Magic and trade 4 first-round picks for Desmond Bane type of deal, because they're not in a market to attract players, especially the good players. So, I mean, good players aren't going to choose to go there. So they have to kind of get creative and, nail their trades and really, like you kind of mentioned, like just get some depth, because the core is there and the core is young, and the longer they play together and kind of develop the chemistry, I think this could potentially be like a 5 or 6 seed next year, with no real improvements or additions. You got to be smart about, not trying to mortgage away your future, because I can already see it if they, do a wild deal and kind of immediately regret it down the line in their future. But positive season for them. They did absolutely fantastic. Shout out to Khan. Shout out to LaMelo, like you said. He finally kind of stayed out of the media, stayed out of trouble, shut up and play. And he played so well, and he was definitely the leader, of that, really fun, exciting Hornets squad. So good for them. They deserve it. The fans deserve it. We'll see if it, can trickle into anything, better than just a fun story.
Couldn't agree more. Lawrence, do you have the same sentiments as Jacob? How would you grade the Hornets season?
Well, they had a really good season, and when you have a good season, small things are going to end up happening. Like next season, they want to make a move. They don't have Kobe White going into next year, but then he hit that amazing game winner, so he probably is going to want to find his way back onto the team. Kobe White's got $13 million a year, so you're probably going to have to give him somewhere around the same. Can't be lower though, won't be lower. So it'll be around 15. Then you still have Grant Williams, so you're technically paying Kobe White and Grant Williams pretty much the same amount of money. So actually, it'll be Josh Green, Grant Williams, and Kobe White, probably about $15 million a year on contract next year. And Brandon Miller's contract ends next year at $15 million. So then he has a team option. So then they have to figure out what they're gonna do with Brandon Miller, and then he's probably going to make some more money, as he should. He's as he stays healthy, has really blossomed into the role that they need him to play as that second, sometimes third guy, most of the time second, in some games the first guy. He has that ability to fluctuate. But I think they got a lot of contracts around the same price. But then some of their pieces, no team's trading for Miles Bridges. As his history, that's just an asset that you kind of have to get stuck with. You can't really move that one for picks or money. So the assets you can move that you would be willing to move, you're kind of limited, because you either get rid of some of your young talent, like Kalkbrenner. Somebody might want to, give you a late first for a Kalkbrenner. You don't know. But Grant Williams, kind of passed. Maybe they will. I don't know how much you're going to get for that. Josh Green, kind of in the same realm. Not knowing what you're really going to get for that. Not really pushing any deals.
Yeah, I agree. Both of you guys, I think it's an A+ season. Did not see this type of season for the Hornets, but you could kind of tell from about midway through the season that things were clicking for them, and they finally, whatever was going on, whether there was, they finally built, bought into the culture, or just roster construction finally started, taking place here. It all clicked for them, and they took off. Yeah, great team. I love the Kobe White edition. Hopefully they keep him around. I'm with you, Lawrence. They probably got to move off some of these guys like Josh Green, Grant Williams. You don't want guys there, backups making $15 million, $10 million plus dollars. We got to get rid of those guys. Flip them for whatever you can. Maybe you get some comfortable players, but maybe they fit better. I'm not too sure what the players out there they should look for, but in terms of next season, I think maybe they're a center away. Diabate, great guy, great backup center. I don't know if I'm starting him though. I think he's better suited as a backup big, playing 15, maybe 20 minutes at most, but maybe scouring the market, see if you get a starting caliber center. They do have other draft picks going forward, I believe. So do you go and draft the center if one falls to you? Maybe that's how they go about things, addressing the need for center. But hey, maybe they go out there and get Porzingis. Porzingis is a free agent potentially. the Warriors don't extend them. Maybe they're Porzingis away from being in the top 6. I definitely like that for them. Who knows? I definitely think they need a center that fits their style, kind of, up and down, stretching the floor, but also can play defense. I think Porzingis, if he can play enough games, would be a good addition for them. But they definitely need a starting center, that's for sure. Or else they're not going to really make that leap. If they don't make that type of move, they'll probably be in the same spot as this season. So, but all in all, love what the Hornets did. I love that they're finally a winning culture, and then they have at least this to build upon. They don't have any more losing or a lot of losing in the future, seemingly. But yeah, that's all the playing teams, guys. We'll go over some more season recaps next week. We'll probably get into some of these teams that lost in the first round next week, so be on the lookout for that. Guys, do we have anything else we had to cover this episode?
JDM protest UFC. Make sure you set your alarm clocks early on Saturday.
7 a.m.
That's right. They're fighting in was it Australia, right?
Perth. Yep.
Okay. Gotta get that on there. NHL playoffs. How we looking?
Sabres did not advance the last opportunity that they had. They lost in Game 5. They were up 3-1. Now the series is 3-2, headed back to Boston. That'll be tomorrow night. So hope that the Sabres can stick around. A lot of series that are kind of Philadelphia just finished off Pittsburgh. The Wild are trying to finish off Dallas tonight. And the Anaheim Ducks are trying to finish off the Oilers tonight as well. So lots of stuff happening. NHL playoffs is going strong. NBA playoffs is going strong. UFC's got two straight weekends of some big fights. It's a good time to be alive.
Couldn't agree more. Lawrence, anything else?
No, he kind of took what I know about the hockey. I'm kind of interested tonight to see if the Ducks can finish off the Oilers. That'd be a nice story to see. The Ducks are just purely an offensive team, not really the best at the defending part, or goal defense. But they like to play some good barn burners, and well, the Oilers, to what I have gathered, have pretty much just made the tournament or made the championship back-to-back years, and so forth. You make it so many times in a row, cracks start to form, and well, game to game, their cracks are kind of getting exploited by the Ducks, because I think it's like outside of the power play, the Oilers are struggling.
Cool. I got nothing else. We have a couple of fifth-year options that did or did not get picked up in the NFL, but I think those are still getting released. So maybe we'll go over those next week, but something to be on the radar for. But other than that, guys, we're going to head on out. Thank you guys for watching on YouTube. Thank you for listening on Spotify. And with that being said, Sideline Brief Podcast, episode 234. We will see you guys next week. Peace.